So yesterday, which was the 23rd of Feb, I attended the Talk of the Nation live show recording at NBC Studios in here in Windhoek, Namibia. And the discussion was around the preparedness of Namibia for the eventuality we have an outbreak of FMD, foot and mouth disease, because we know it's ravaging in South Africa. I know Botswana reported some cases. The minister was talking about we need to strengthen our borders, we need to fortify our borders, we need to step up our surveillance, we need to fix all the border fences that are down, etc. These are what she had mentioned. And the other leaders, because we had the minister, we had the head of Namibia's Farmers Union, we had the head of the Namibian Communal Lands Farmers Union, and then we had the head of the School of Veterinary the Veterinary School of UNAM, which is of UNAM, the University of Namibia. They were on the panel, and they were telling us, the minister spoke about how the government has given 1.5 billion, but they need more as to fortify, to prepare their people so their people are ready and step up the surveillance. What they've done already is cars, now trucks and cars are being disinfected when they enter from South Africa and Botswana. The truck gets disinfected. You climb out of your car, you get your shoes disinfected. If you're carrying meat, if you're carrying food stuff like meat and stuff, those are confiscated or you are told to finish eating it because you're not going to be allowed to cross over with that. The head of NAU said that, look, we can't vaccinate our animals against FMD. The best case we can hope is to prevent it completely from entering the country. Because if it does, we will lose our FMD-free status that we have that allows us to export meat to countries like America, Europe, and China. If we lose that status, it's game over for our meat industry because 60 to 70% of our meat is exported. I doubt the population of Namibia will be able to consume all that meat. So it's something that we're really concerned about because it will affect the meat. It will affect the meat industry. It will affect the auxiliary industries, the abattoirs, the people, the value-added chain, the butcheries, the people that produce feeds, the various businesses that are involved in agriculture. It will affect all of those. So that's what he mentioned. The head of NAU spoke about the outbreak and how it will affect everybody, not just farmers in the south. It will affect the whole country. And that's something we need to really take serious. So when the questions were given now, the floor was allowed to ask questions to the panelists. I was the first person to ask questions. I even set the tone to stand up rather than sitting down and asking questions. I stood up because I was showing respect to the government official, which is the minister. So I said, let me stand up just to show a sign of respect towards the minister here. And I asked the question. My question went as follows. I said, Honorable Kalesh Ledvine spoke about the lab to produce meds in Namibia to combat FMD and other livestock diseases. How far is that? Or are we still relying on the goodwill of our neighbors? Looking at the history of COVID-19, where bigger nations held on to their vaccines and we were left out in the cold. How far is that? What's the feasibility study? The head of the Department of Veterinary Service, Namibia, the boss now, his response was, we did a feasibility study. We looked at it. We looked at the animals that get infected with FMD, which is in the northern part of the country, which are not even over 200,000. And we looked at that and we said it was not going to be financially viable. So in other words, he's saying Namibia does not want to produce medication because they will not make money. I sat down and I was not allowed to ask a follow-up question. But my follow-up question would have been to this gentleman. Botswana has a smaller population than Namibia, but they produce foot and mouth disease vaccines. And not just that, I think they also produce other medication for other known diseases of their livestock industry. Why is it that Namibia is not able to produce medication? If we produce this FMD vaccine, for example, which may be stronger than the one that's being produced in both South Africa and Botswana, we can keep a certain number for ourselves and we can sell. The world is an open oyster. We can go and compete. We can bid. We can compete with South Africa, Botswana, and the other countries. We can export our medication outside. People will come and buy. If ours is better and stronger and much more, and much more safer for the users, we will make money. We don't just need to produce FMD vaccines. Namibia, because of our livestock industry, is the biggest of our agricultural industry, 60-70%, right around there. We rely heavily on livestock. How is it that we don't produce any of our vaccines in this country? We import. Right now, it's raining in most parts of Namibia. We're going to have an outbreak of lumpy skin disease. That means we have to import lumpy skin vaccines from South Africa. We have to import lumpy skin vaccines probably from Botswana if they make it. We have to be importing these vaccines from other countries. When will we reach the point where we can readily produce this medication and distribute it to our farmers? Because we're literally playing Russian roulette. What happens the day, beside this FMD, for example, let's say South Africa has an outbreak of lumpy skin disease and it's unprecedented. Botswana has something similar. And now the two countries are busy vaccinating the animals. We have one. How the hell are we going to get meds? It means now we have to procure, and we know the procurement system is very lengthy and very long. Because you put in your procurement, you will say you are ready to buy. You need to reach out to the vendor to hear if he has any available, and then he will supply. That's the question I asked, because the answer I got from the head of the DVS really left a lot to be desired. How do you tell us that we looked at it, we did the feasibility, and we're not going to do it because the numbers don't make sense? Colleague, the lab can produce medication beside FMD. Our livestock industry is our biggest agricultural industry. For a country that relies heavily on beef production, how the hell don't we produce vaccines? Argentina, which is also another big livestock farming country, produces vaccines. Even Germany produces vaccines, and they don't have that much cows. But ourselves, we don't want to produce. That's what I was told. We're not going to produce. We're going to rely on the goodwill. And for me, it seems like this pandemic, this pedestrian movement and this playing, what do you call this? This playing living on a prayer that Namibia plays around with. If it's not foot and mouth disease today, it's going to be something else. Because I recall we had set 3, and it broke out in my region where I'm from. It took time for that vaccine to arrive and for the animals to be vaccinated. We got set 2 medication, and we had to vaccinate with set 2. It took time. There was another outbreak which was suspected cases of lung disease, bovine lung disease. It took time for that medication again to arrive. The farmers in Kavango were crying. They were literally ready to break the law, cross the borders and go buy medication themselves and come and vaccine their cows because they couldn't wait on government. It was taking time, and it was a lengthy process. So when the head of DVS said this yesterday, you can go watch the show on the rerun and hear him. He responded, and he said it's not feasible. It's not feasible. So Namibia, on the end of the day, is not thinking to say we rely 60 to 70% on the beef industry. We don't produce vaccines in this country. What happens the day we have an unprecedented outbreak? And it's not just Namibia. Let's say the whole southern part have an outbreak. The countries that produce vaccines are going to keep those vaccines for themselves to vaccinate their livestock. We, on the end of the day, that buy, are going to have to pay more than what we usually pay for it. Because if Botswana says, we're not going to give you our medication, we'll have to offer them a crazy price that they'd want to run home and go tell their wives about. That means we'll pay more for vaccines rather than what we usually pay. So this country, it just leaves me confused. Fine, I can understand if he's saying that it's going to be expensive, but let's take the knock. Botswana produces medication. South Africa produces medication, and it's not just FMD, different type of medication. Heck, Zambia is busy building a lab. I think the lab is up and running, and they produce medication in Zambia already. They are busy because the countries are realizing we can't just be relying. This situation between Russia and Ukraine should have told us something. The situation with COVID-19 should have told us something. That this thing of relying is going to leave you one day with your pants around your ankle. But seems like the better minds and the people that get paid more money than me don't feel like it's a priority at this junction. Yeah. So farmers, step up your biosecurity and start sanitizing cars that come into your farm. Just invest in your biosecurity measures. Put them in place now and start working together, particularly the ones in the communal area. Work together and put aside your spiritual, traditional, and whatever political differences. It's time to pull together and to hope that we don't have an outbreak. Because if it does happen, that's goodbye to Namibia's golden ticket to export meat all over the world. So yeah.